Paddy Brennan decided enough's enough, and he's
This is the OTB Television Network, a service of Capital District Off-Track Betting.
Broadcasting live from the Capital OTB studios, this is Racing Across America with Seth Merrow.
Good morning and welcome to Racing Across America on this Saturday morning. I'm Seth Merrow. Thanks for joining us. Thanks also to our friends at Gulfstream for their sponsorship. Gulfstream Park. Champions start here. Also like to alert you at the top of the show of any promotions that are coming up. And today, a fun one here at the Clubhouse Racebook, the Holiday Grab Bag. So stop on down, see if you can get your chance to pull a bag out of the grab bag bucket and walk away with a prize during the afternoon. That's today's Saturday here at the Clubhouse Racebook, 711 Central Avenue in Albany. And it is the holiday season. I'm just back in from a visit to my sisters in Arkansas. Northwestern part of the state, so a little ways away from Oaklawn, but it was a fun visit until yesterday where the flights got delayed and whatnot, so I was intending to be here for OTB Live yesterday, but did not make it as things got delayed and delayed and delayed some more, although my story was not as sorrowful as some of the people sitting around me. I guess the last couple of days, I actually had to sleep over in Charlotte on Thursday night, and I guess there was a couple of days of weather at various parts in the country that delayed people. If you were part of it, you know what I'm talking about, but hopefully you got home as well, and we're back in the groove, and I was kind of kicking back and enjoying the holidays and the relatives over the past few days. So sat back and avoided some racing. There really wasn't any on Christmas Eve and Christmas, but opening day at Santa Anita at Wednesday, I have kind of taken a look at those, but coming up a little bit later on, John White from Santa Anita will join us, Morning Line odds maker and more out at Santa Anita. He'll help us go back and watch those opening day stakes, their traditional meet. Opened on Wednesday, La Brea, the Malibu, a couple other stakes on Wednesday. We'll recap those and get a look at a couple of stakes today as well from Santa Anita, Saturday afternoon stakes. Also going to be joined in a few minutes by Dave Rodman. Nice card of stakes action down at Laurel this afternoon, and Dave will go over some of those stakes with us as well. So all of that coming up on today's show. I said spent the holiday and just got back in yesterday, just in time yesterday to sit down and watch. And I'm wearing my orange tie in honor of my Orange men from Syracuse. Congratulations to them. Nice 10-win season as they won the Camping World Bowl down in Orlando over West Virginia. It was a ding-dong battle for, I'd say, 3.5 quarters. Then Syracuse started to kind of got the momentum and took control. I don't think they had the control that the announcers, they were up by a couple of touchdowns, and the announcers were kind of salting it away early. And West Virginia got down to where they were threatening for a touchdown, and that would have put it one score away. So I don't think Syracuse was kind of as in control as maybe the announcers did until late in the game, and then it was kind of salted away with 3 or 4 minutes left. You knew it would be virtually impossible for West Virginia to come back. But again, a nice bowl victory for my alma mater. Hopefully you enjoyed it as well. I know there are a lot of Syracuse fans in the area. Do want to alert you Today, it is a mandatory pay at Charlestown. They have a pick six carryover today, $252,000. And this is the meets final card of 2018. So that'll be a mandatory pay at Charlestown today. Just want to alert you to that so that you can take advantage of the opportunity out there at Charlestown. Again, that's Charlestown today, $252,000 mandatory pay in their pick six, which I am pretty sure, it's a single ticket pick six. Obviously today with the mandatory, the whole pool goes whether there's a single ticket or not. Have my Eclipse Award past performances. I got them in the mail a couple of weeks ago. I've said since then, I like to sit back and let things play out. They pretty much have now over the next couple of days. I have to really sit down and fill out the ballot. Some of the categories, slam dunks, and you knew it before any of the last series of races. And really, I don't think La Brea or Malibu, or there have been some Breeders' Cup horses and some horses in some of these categories that have come back over the last couple of weeks and run at other venues as well. I don't think there was anything changed up necessarily. There have been, though, 4 voters online. There were updates in a few of the categories as far as the PPs. I'm just looking. They updated the 3-year-old male division because, of course, the Malibu was run. But as I say, really didn't make any difference. You would think the female sprint division was added to as well. Spice Perfection, of course, with the win in the La Brea, got an update there. The male sprint division was updated. And I'm just looking, World of Trouble in the race down at Tampa a week and a half or so ago. Couple of weeks, I guess. No, last Saturday. No, 2 Saturdays ago. The 15th, regardless. But the sprint on the dirt down at Tampa for World of Trouble. But again, you would think that would not make a difference in the Eclipse voting necessarily. And the male turf division was also updated with, we had the horse down at Santa Anita, the Fort Lauderdale on December 15th, which, Glorious Empire wins that one with the win in the Bowling Green and the Sword Dancer Grade 1 up at Saratoga, threw in a clunker in the Breeders' Cup turf. I suppose Glorious Empire could make a little noise in a division that is potentially looking for someone to rise above. And just some of the categories, as I say, to me are slam dunks. Clearly, 2-year-old male is a slam dunk with Game Winner. Game Winner 4 for 4 for Bob Baffert. 3 Grade 1s, the Del Mar Futurity, the American Pharoah, and then the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. It just, you would have to think, and it seems like every year in these kind of categories where you're circling one as a potential unanimous decision, there's also there are always some outlying voters who go in a different direction. So I won't be bold enough to say unanimous, but probably should be. But there are other horses in here that clearly have pretty good records that I suppose you could make cases for. But as I say, to me, Game Winner is a slam dunk in that 2-year-old division. One of the divisions that I think is interesting, and I'll be interested to see how it goes, and I haven't quite decided yet, the 2-year-old filly division. And we're going to take a look at a couple of stretch runs here of the 2 horses that I think will ding-dong it for the Eclipse for 2-year-old filly. First up, we're going to look at the Breeders' Cup Juvenile filly. We're going to watch Jaywalk win that one. Jaywalk is going to be the number 7 horse here. She came out of a win in the Grade 1 Frazette before that. And again, she'll be the number 7 horse under Joel Rosario. You can see her here in front kind of pulling away. She winds up winning by 5.5 over Restless Rider, who again, another talented 2-year-old. That one from Kenny McPeak. So this was a nice performance. Winds up the season 4 wins and a second and 5 starts. The Grade 1 Frazette and the Grade 1 Juvenile Breeders' Cup Juvenile filly, which we saw there. So Jaywalk is logical. Probably winds up winning. I have said, and I said it really right after the weekend, I thought Newspaper of Record was a little more impressive maybe throughout the 3-race career that she threw in. We're going to watch her winning the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Filly Turf. Newspaper record is going to be the number 6 horse here under Irad Ortiz, win by 6 3/4. And again, she was 3 for 3 in the career, broke the maiden by 6+ lengths up at Saratoga, went to Belmont, the Grade 2 Miss Grillo, won that by over 6 lengths, and then this Breeders' Cup Juvenile Filly Turf by over 6 lengths. As I say, she was just visually impressive in the 3 starts, had no challenge in any of the 3 starts. Grade 1 victory in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Filly Turf as compared to the 2 Grade 1 victories for Jaywalk. So, as I say, Jaywalk, the likely winner, I'm still on the fence. I'm going to sit down and maybe take a look at some of the races again and go through some of the competition they faced and whatnot. I was tilting towards newspaper record. I think I'm still tilting in that direction. But it's going to be an interesting category. Again, just traditionally, I think voters are going to tilt towards Jaywalk, probably the likely winner. 3-year-old male candidates, again, that's a slam dunk. You get a Triple Crown winner. Justify is going to wind up to be the winner there. McKenzie, though, with the win this past Wednesday, and again, we'll talk about it with John White in the Malibu. Certainly, the win in the Pennsylvania Derby and a win in the Grade 1 Malibu. It's not enough to elevate McKenzie to an Eclipse Award over a Triple Crown winner, but it does kind of elevate him into the consideration. It'll be interesting to see who the finalists are, because Catholic Boy obviously is going to get a little juice as well. And it also obviously lines up McKenzie for an interesting 4-year-old season now. So the slam dunk, though, in that. And again, this is another one that'll be interesting to see. Are there outliers? Because when it gets to, Horse of the Year, I'm tilting towards Accelerate over Justify, because I'm not sure the 3-year-old class through the Triple Crown. I don't take anything away from starting your career in the middle of February and then going on to run up a 6 for 6 record that includes the Triple Crown. I can't take anything away from that, other than I'm not sure that Triple Crown class through the Triple Crown races was that strong a group of 3-year-olds. Now, you can also make the argument that Accelerate was not facing a strong group of older horses, but that's more a case of you can only face who shows up, whereas through the Triple Crown races, Justify was facing what were the better 3-year-olds at that time of the year. It's just as the year progressed, we found out they may not be that talented. Subsequently, some horses a little later in the year rose to the top. But again, if Justify had come back and put in some kind of effort a little later in the season against the 3-year-olds, or against some of those 3-year-olds who did rise up or faced older horses and won, that would be an easier vote for me as we got to Horse of the Year. But as I say, right now I'm tilting towards Accelerate, but Justify on the 3-year-old scene, on the 3-year-old division, clearly the leading candidate there. 3-year-old fillies, it's Monomoy Girl again. That looks like a slam dunk as well. 6 wins and a second place finish in 7 starts in the 2018 season. The second place finish, was that controversial? I can't argue with it, but kind of the controversial DQ in the cotillion down at Parks, where Midnight Bishu was moved up, but then subsequently beats a field of older horses, older fillies and mares in the Breeders' Cup Distaff. So Monomoy Girl looks like, as I say, that the slam dunk there. Accelerate, if I'm saying he's Horse of the Year, he has to clearly be the older dirt male winner, but it's a fun category. I mean, Diversify is in there. Mind Your Biscuits is in there, but again, with the win in the Breeders' Cup Classic, capping a pretty nice season, 6 wins and 7 starts for Accelerate. And I'm just looking, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Grade 1s. So it was a pretty good year for Accelerate. Likely older dirt male winner. The dirt female, that again is another category. It's going to be interesting to see where the betting public goes. Unique Bella, who 3 wins and 4 starts, but an abbreviated campaign. Abel Tasman, who kind of clunked at the end of the year. Marley's Freedom, interesting maybe. the fourth place finish in the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Sprint, but got the late run there to just miss. Ran fourth by half a length. Subsequently, Bob Baffert ships to New York and wins the Go for Juan. But she's more of a sprinter. Does that horse win? The older dirt female category is going to be one, again, like myself, I think a lot of people are going to have to sit down and really kind of take a look at this and make some decisions. Male sprint category, Mind Your Biscuits, the win in Dubai, but the win in Dubai was one of two wins. The other win was the Lucas Classic at 1 mile and an 1/8, so that would be tough. And then there's horses like Army Mule, who won two very convincingly. One was an optional claimer, one was the Grade 1 Carter, but they were in January and April, hasn't been seen since. So there's some of those types of horses. Promises Fulfilled for Dale, won some nice three-year-old stakes races. Stormy Liberal is interesting. This horse, a 4-race win streak, including the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint last time, which was a Grade 1, but they're turf sprints. Could that horse win with the turf sprint kind of situation? World of Trouble, similar, except as I said earlier, he then subsequently won the dirt sprint down at Tampa. Is that enough to elevate him into Eclipse conversation? Yeah, we'll see. Female sprint, Marley's Freedom. Maybe with that win in New York, she becomes the likely candidate there. Finley's Lucky Charm at the end of the year kind of faltered a little bit. Others are maybe a little lightly raced. So Marley's Freedom is kind of one of those default kind of situations. Although I say default, 5 wins and 8 starts this season, with the close-up finish in the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Sprint. Comparatively speaking, that may be enough. The male turf division is interesting as well. And again, I mentioned a few minutes ago Stormy Liberal on maybe the dirt sprint side. Well, what about the male turf side? We're going to take a look at the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint, and number 9 will be Stormy Liberal, getting up by a neck. Again, it's a category where it's tough to look and think anybody is kind of jumping off the page otherwise. So this performance by Stormy Liberal, again, puts together a nice campaign of 4 wins and 7 career starts, including this win, the Grade 1 Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint. But is a turf sprinter enough to get you the Male Turf Award? I don't know. Expert Eye, the Breeders' Cup mile winner coming over from Europe. I suppose that one will take some attention. Glorious Empire, again, with the win down at Gulfstream most recently. You add that into the Sword Dancer and the Bowling Green on the front end up at Saratoga. Maybe that horse becomes interesting. Raging Bull, the 3-year-old. It's another division where I think folks are going to have to kind of sit back and take a look. Voodoo Song has past performances. Yoshida among those in the category. And also wanted to take a look at the Filly and Mare Turf division, which again, I think has a couple of candidates in here that are both very worthy. First up, we're going to take a look at the Breeders' Cup Turf. Number 2, Enable, will be the winner. I may be tilting towards Enable. Enable's the number 2 horse here. Wins by 3/4 over the other European female coming over here, facing the boys, Magical. Magical 3-year-old filly winds up a close-up second, but then they're 9 ahead of some pretty good American turfers. So Enable, to me, on the female turf side, it was only a 3-race campaign. She got the late start, the little Group 3 at Kempton in September, but then wins the Arc and beats the boys in the Breeders' Cup Turf. So again, I'm kind of tilting in that direction, but now we're going to look at the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Turf, and it's going to be number 6, Sister Charlie, for Chad Brown and Peter Brandt. This was the 4th win in 5 starts in 2018. Sister Charlie, again, the number 6 horse in here, wins by a neck. I'm looking 1, 2, 3, 4 Grade 1s. Oh, yeah, all 4 of the wins this year were Grade 1s. The Jenny Wiley, the New York, ran 2nd in the New York won the Diana, won the Beverly D, and won that Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Turf. So 4 Grade 1 wins in 5 careers, and 5 starts in 2018 again. As I say, I think I'm kind of tilting towards Enable. Just kind of like to reward. And normally I am totally against the one start over here to win. I kind of feel like it's our award. You need a couple of starts, but you win the ARC, you come over, you win. As a filly, that's impressive. So as I say, I may be tilting towards Enable. But again, still have a few more days to make up my mind. I'll sit back, make some decisions, fill out my ballot, and we'll see how it all plays out in a few weeks when the Eclipse Awards are announced. All right, going to take a break. When we come back, our friend Dave Rodman will join us. Again, nice day at Laurel Park coming up. We'll preview some of their stakes. Stay tuned.
Visit Rivers Casino and Resort, the Capital Region's only destination for live table game action and the hottest new slots paying out millions. And they're off. Horse betting is now at Rivers Casino and Resort with Capital off-track betting terminals and live tellers located just off the gaming floor at Van Slyck's. Get in on all the action at Rivers Casino and Resort.
What if there was a way to become a better horse player, to have a better knowledge of the game, to be more successful? What if there were a way to take what you've learned, what you know, and make better decisions, better choices, to know how to connect the dots? In horse racing, knowledge is a powerful tool, but not the only tool. Race results and replays, past performances and live streaming, wagering from all your digital devices. These too are important tools, and you'll find them all right here at Capital OTB. Capital OTB. Become a better horse player.
Come on!
I want sales reports on my desk by Monday.
Whoops. My bad.
Love racing? RTN brings you every live simulcast on your home television, plus live video streaming and race replays on your PC and mobile devices. To order, visit rtn.tv. RTN, a breed apart.
Welcome back to Racing Across America on this Saturday morning. Saturday afternoon brings some nice stakes action from Laurel, so I thought we'd reach out to our friend Dave Rodman. Dave, good morning.
Good morning, Seth. I'm happy to report the sun is out in Maryland. It seems like it rains every Friday here. We didn't run last Friday, yesterday rather, because of the holiday and the different schedule with New Year's. So we're happy to be back on track with a lot of sunshine today.
And what is the schedule? You guys are going to run Monday?
We're running now through New Year's Day. And remember, we've got a 4-day-a-week schedule for January and February. Most people may be used to the 3-day-a-week schedule, but we are running 4, adding more days to 2019.
Nice.
To keep a tab on the Laurel schedule for some extra action.
And Fridays also, I know people have been kind of jumping in. That Stronach Pick 5 has been kind of popular too.
Yeah, another big payout yesterday. What was it? I think it's 20. Is it 50,000? No, it's 20-something thousand. And we've had some humongous payoffs, including a carryover. We were not part of it yesterday, but back every Friday we'll be part of it when we run here at Laurel Park.
Yeah, as they say, those cross-country things are kind of fun, and I know it's taken off and become kind of popular. You mentioned the weather. Just update us again for this afternoon. Yeah. You said some rain coming into today, but the sun is out now. Yeah, about an inch of rain, maybe plus, I think, the way it was pouring yesterday. It seems like every Friday for the Stronach 5 has been an off-track. So yesterday, again, was no exception, though we didn't run. But the sun has come out after a foggy night last night, with visibility almost down to 0, but plenty of sunshine. They're harrowing the track right now. I would call it muddy. There's plenty of moisture in the track. The early post time today of 12 noon because of the 10-race program instead of our usual 12:30. All right, let's jump into some of the stakes. The stakes action kicks off early, race 3, the Heft. And this is interesting to me. I love these 2-year-old stakes at this time of the year because it bodes well. Obviously, they'll become 3 in just a week or so. And last year, Diamond King won this race, went on to win the Tessio, ran second in the Smarty Jones, third in the Oklahoma Derby. And I kind of followed that horse coming out of last year's Heft. And this is another nice field in here. Always Mining comes in off the win in the Maryland Juvenile, Futurity, Press Virginia, one of the invading Pennsylvania horses on the card this afternoon that looks kind of interesting. Comes in with a 2-for-2 record for John Service. Clench moves out of the barn of Steve Asmussen into the barn of Jason Service. I'm going to look, though, Dave, while we talk, and go back to December 7th, a little allowance optional claimer. And the winner here will be number 4, Win, Win, Win for Mike Trombetta. 2-for-2 in the career, wearing those Live Oak silks. I thought off of this victory, again, in the second start, moving in against winners, was impressive from Win, Win, Win. What are your thoughts on the Heft?
Well, you read my mind, and I think after today he'll be 3 for 3. Love him today. He caught the eye in his debut here at Laurel Park, a race that was taken off the turf in a gritty win going 5.5. Comes back in the video you show there with that same distance win. Going to 7 furlongs today should be no problem. Hat trick, of course, you're thinking long on the turf on the sire side, but the Smarty Jones stem, Miss Smarty Pants, was a winner at 7 furlongs, actually broke her maiden at 7 furlongs. So it's just a little bit of a stretch out from 5.5 to 7. Should be no problem for him. I think this colt's got a lot of talent. He's improving, and he's got a pretty good mind on him, too. You know, a lot of times you see these 2-year-olds running a little bit greenly, but in his debut, he was gritty. He dug in like a pro. He improved his Fire Figure second out there in that December 7th win. Very eager to run on. Drifted in a little bit in that race, but I think he'll be 3 for 3 coming into today. Probably by post time of the third, I would say the track possibly rated good. I mean, we're dealing with drying out racetracks. He's done both wins on a fast track. We'll see how he can handle a bit of an off-going this afternoon. Always Mining, though the fractions were fast, 22, 4, 45, and 1 on paper. He was kind of like the lone speed in that race and well nursed, but you know he improved his figure tremendously that race. Order and Law can run on the dirt, but I think he'll have to pick up his figures. And you got the double service, John C. Service with Press Virginia. You got to admire a horse who's 2 for 2 at 2 different tracks. So he's just not a one-track wonder there. He's done it at Penn. He went to Parks to get the allowance other than. And Clench, I think, the Jason Service barn, as you pointed out, it's a step up from Maiden 30 into Stakes Company. But Jason Service good at this kind of step up.
Yeah, and I always say, you know, typically you look at trainers and jockeys, you don't always look at owners, but when you see Michael Dubb there, you have to pay extra attention. And I will note, it is kind of funny, we've alluded to it already, but the folks at Live Oak Plantation, they're leaving soup out of the name, but Win, 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 they'll be kind of prescient if he ends up being the victor this afternoon.
Right, a lot of soup horses, right, for Live Oak. Yeah, good point there. I love the name. I'm going to have a lot of fun with that one.
All right, let's move on to race number 5. It's the Jennings, $75,000 for the Maryland Breds going a mile. And this is kind of interesting and fun. I went back to last year's edition of this race. December 30th of 2017, number 11 will be John Jones. Edgar Prado was on board that day and was coming out of kind of a dud in the Swatara. Comes out of a dud in the Swatara again this year. So comes in kind of a similar fashion. I always find that interesting. But also notable, not only did John Jones win this race last year, but won the race the year before, too. So the 2-time reigning champion of this race. But again, comes in out of a little dud last time. Does have a nice bullet workout, however. Morning line favorite, though, is Rockin' On By, coming in off a good second-place finish last time in the Bender Memorial. I thought Sunny Inspired could be a little bit intriguing as well. Your thoughts on the Jennings?
Yeah, good angle there. Bad race, good race. And he won the Jennings in 16. He won the Jennings in 17. Looking for the three-peat today off the bad race in the Satara. It looks like he'll sit right off the pace if he wants to, or he can go to the front if he wants to. I kind of prefer him to sit right off of whatever speed there is and kind of ration along early. Get leading jockey Trevor McCarthy aboard, who's got a pretty sizable lead there on Victor Carrasco, and he's got mounts Trevor, I believe, in 9 of the 10 today. before scratches. I did the scratches and the stakes there, but looking to widen that lead. Sonny Inspired, though. He looks like a horse to me who's really coming into the race in good form right now. 11-time winner, 5 wins here at Laurel Park. I know he was beaten by Rockin' On By last time out. Was down on the inside, maybe didn't like it. Today he's out in the clear, and he's beaten John Jones the last 2 matchups back in August and back in September. I think he's kind of an off-and-on horse. I've never been able to catch him when he's on. 12-1, 3-1. He's paid some decent prices in winning 8-1. Maybe today finally could be the day. Heavy on Toledo has the mount for Phil Schoenthal. They're a good combination together. And again, Sonny Inspired, I think, just didn't like being down inside there. Kind of an outside clear sail for him today. Rockin' On By, you mentioned, a horse who, well, he loves to finish second. 22 times second out of 63 tries. 10 seconds out of 27 tries here at Laurel Park. Maybe not his best distance going the flat mile with that one-turn mile and the long, long run of the second wire finish. He's kind of a one-run sprinter, but he could possibly stretch it. I mean, you've got leading trainer Claudio Gonzalez, Super C, has claimed hundreds of $1,000s worth of horses here. And, you never leave out Claudio is the motto, I guess. Now, another horse who should show some speed in here and maybe going to try to wire them is Taco Supreme for trainer Damon Deladovico. He's been pretty hot here. Was the trainer last 30 days, good positive ROI. I think they're taking a little shot in this race maybe for the $25,000 claim. They claimed him earlier in 2018, but he's very consistent. He's had a few issues here and there. He tried to run off one time after breaking slow at Pimlico. They freshened him up, but he seems like he's kind of back on the beam here. If you see speed holding, he could be a dangerous horse to hang around.
Yeah, and he certainly seems to be in good form right now. All right, let's move on to the Gin Talking. These are 2-year-old fillies, $100,000 up for grabs, 7 furlongs. And I kind of mentioned this earlier, and this is one of those races. There are some Pennsylvania Invaders in here who just look really interesting. I just don't know what to make, particularly the Penn National horses. I don't know how much to believe the numbers. I think the Parks runners have been interesting this fall at various venues in the Northeast as they've shipped out of Parks. So Getting Warmer looks a little bit interesting off the 2-for-2 record down at Parks. Kaylasaurus comes in off a nice debut win at Penn National. But I pulled up Penn National, the Blue Mountain Juvenile Fillies Stakes from November 21st. The number 5 is going to be Please Flatter Me. Wins pretty nicely here for win number 2 in start number 2. But again, both of those were at Penn National. But boy, the Beyer numbers were pretty good if you can believe them. And these are 2 nice wins, 2 daylight wins so far in the career. So I think Please Flatter Me is interesting. What are your thoughts on the Gin Talking?
It sounds like between the both of us, we're going to hit the all button. I mean, these fillies are kind of like between the 69-75 Beyer range. A lot of question marks, being track condition today. By the time race 6 rolls along, improving, not improving. Will they transfer the form from another track to Laurel? You've got some fillies in here who've run quite well at Laurel, including our Super Freak, Destiny Over Fate, Belial for sure. But the first filly I looked at was Kaylasaurus. Watched that video replay last night. She just broke a beat slow in that race from post 1, kind of a stutter step start, and went right to the front, dragged the rider to the lead after dueling briefly earlier in the race in the opening quarter, and then opened up, powered away through the stretch to win with something left. So stepping up from a maiden race where she broke a beat slow against tough fillies is the big question mark here. Trainer Rodrigo Madrigal's had a last good 30 days. I've got to use her. But a couple of horses that interest me, our Super Freak, who may be able to sit off the pace for trainer Jamie Ness. Destiny Over Fate gets Lasix for the first time. She was beaten by Belial, but only a neck here in their last matchup on November 17th. And blinkers going on Belial today. Interesting, because last time out in the Maryland Juvenile Filly Championship, she was 2.5-1. I thought around the quarter pole, she'd be in contention to start rolling, but toward the quarter pole, she was way out of it, almost like she lost interest in the race. She was 20 lengths out of it at one time, started to show a little bit of run, and then came rolling late with plenty of kick. Now getting the blinkers on, Don't let her get away at least a 5, 6, 8, 10 to 1 in here. Somewhere anything over 6 to 1 is going to be a gift on her. Belial today with the blinkers on and Trevor McCarthy for Cal Lynch.
Yeah, I am going to have to pull up that replay because as you were talking, I'm just noticing she was 20 lengths behind late in the race and closed to be third by
I even said something like not firing today, which is, well, that's, I mean, you know, like Trevor says, you know, I was right at the time. And she wasn't. I mean, she just wasn't going anywhere. Yeah. I mean, almost as if she just was not interested or something had happened. But then very late in the scene, she came rolling with plenty of interest. A big long shot one that raised money from heaven on the outside. No more lady beat her that day. But getting the blinkers on is an interesting move for her. I mean, I've always thought she's got a lot of talent. But as you can see, sometimes she drops a little farther back than you want her to. Maybe the blinkers sharpen her up today.
Interesting. All right, let's move on to 38 Go-Go, $100,000 up for grabs in that stake, a mile for the Fillies and Mayors. Boy, this is nice. A field of 14 in here. And there, I think you can make a case for a few of them. Sower comes in for Linda Rice. That one's going to be interesting, obviously, coming down from the last couple of races, couple of stakes races up in New York. Mo Knows has some good numbers underneath, but they're mainly on the turf. The dirt try last time certainly wasn't as inspiring. The horse I found interesting, and I mentioned it earlier with the Penn National horses, and I'm the same with Lake Pontchartrain. Coming in from Mahoning Valley, I'm not quite sure what to make of the last couple of races, but I thought they were two nice improving efforts. We're going to take a look at the allowance victory on December 10th. Lake Pontchartrain is going to be the number 3 horse here. I think that one's kind of interesting. The 6-year-old mare from the 11 post position, if they all hold. Again, I'm not quite sure what to make of the Mahoning Valley races, but if we buy into them, just seems to be in good form right now. Your thoughts on the 38 Go?
Yeah, first of all, scratch 12 and 13 Timeless Curl, Squan's Kingdom out of there, and also scratch the 2 Lady Vicky out of there, but still a huge field. I'm buying in on Lake Pontchartrain here. She's not won a race at Laurel, but she's a 17-time winner. I've seen her give her all at different tracks, shipping around. I kind of like the fact that trainer Ernie Haynes either came here on December 20th at Laurel to work her and has kept her here for the time being, from the 20th to today, or maybe shipped her back to Charlestown. But the fact that he's come down to get her work in her over this track is kind of interesting to me for a filly that's tried a couple of times here with a second and a third, but yet to get that win. I mean, she's just a hard-trying mare. Got to use her, Lake Pontchartrain. I think the race goes through sour, though, off of a good, even-pace effort in the Garland Roses and Aqueduct behind Vertical Oak. The sprint to route stretching out, no problem for Linda Rice. Goes to her main Maryland rider there, Horatio Paramanos. And an intriguing kind of a price horse in here. I don't know how the inside's going to be or what kind of trip she's going to get here, but Isotope stretching from that 7 furlong race, which she just kind of gave a battle with Timeless Curls, and Timeless Curls got the best of her today. Timeless Curls scratched out of the race today. I like the little stretch back out to a mile where she's turning a powerhouse 8-length score back in September in the entry-level allowance company back September 16th to win by some 8 lengths. And Vargas comes back to ride her again for Jeremiah Engelhardt. Don't let her get away here. Isotope, kind of a user in the 1 mile 38 Go-Go.
Maya having a pretty good season when he ships down there as well. All right, the 8th race, the Dave's Friend, 3-year-olds and up, going a quick 3/4 of a mile in here. Field of 7 scheduled. Is it Lackey or Lakey?
It's Lakai.
Lakai. Oh, I wasn't even close. Lakai. All right. I'm glad I asked.
I was saying Lakai, but the owners have corrected me. It is Lakai.
All right.
And it's something Hawaiian. I looked it up.
Yeah, that would make that Lakai.
Multiple times, but couldn't actually find the meaning of it. So
yeah, that makes sense if it's a Hawaiian.
I do what I'm told, especially if the owner wants it, right?
Yeah, no question about it. And that's the one I took a look at. I pulled up the Bender Memorial. Yeah. From December 8th. Lakai will be the number 5 horse here. Number 5 horse again this afternoon. Maybe that bodes well. But wins pretty nicely. Just seems to be in good form over the past few starts with a couple of wins a couple of seconds leading into that win last time. But Altissimo also interesting in here, coming in again from Ohio, so I wasn't quite sure what to make of that one. Cautious Giant is interesting to me, coming up from Gulfstream Park. Colonel Sharp, interesting off the win and allowance company last time at Laurel. Again, it's a field of 7, but I think you can make a case for a few of them in here. Your thought in the base, friend?
Yeah, I mean, if you told me you have to pick one, you can't spread in the race. You have to single. I would probably just go ahead and take my chance with Lakai. He's a super honest horse, and again, as I told you, the trainer's been hot the last 30 days here at Laurel Park. Second after the layoffs, a good angle as well. And I love the way he dug down there, beat Rockin' On By in the Bender. I mean, the distance is no problem. Obviously, he's kind of a 6 furlong specialist race. But, the Altissimo, the question is, was that big triple-digit buyer figure a product of the sloppy track? Doesn't really matter because we're still going to have a little moisture in the track by the time post-time rolls around. We had that inch plus of rain yesterday, and though it may be rated good by that time, that's just the kind of track that Altissimo loves here. No work over the track, though, as we referenced earlier with Lake Pontchartrain. So he's going to have to show he can do it here. I don't want to take a chance maybe leaving him off and having him beat me. I do like the other horse you mentioned, the 7-year-old Cautious Giant. In here would love to have at least seen a prep over this track before trying this kind of company. But certainly his midsummer number at Gulfstream at 110 flat, where he was beaten a half length behind Reason to Soar, catches my eye, like lower 90 buyer type figure. Yeah, I mean, for a 7-horse field, a race where you could easily use 3.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's very competitive, as opposed to the one that I think may be the free square on the day. The 9th race is the Politely 6 furlongs. I'm going to take a look at the Maryland Million Distaff back on October 20th. It will be the number 7 Crab Cakes, appropriately named for Maryland racing. Crab Cakes gets it done in here pretty easily over My Magician. It's a half a length, but My Magician, to me, in the rest of the field, if you were going to take a shot, that might be the direction you would go, but it just seems like Crab Cakes in absolutely good form this year. 3 wins in 4 starts, 7 wins in 9 starts lifetime on the Laurel Strip. So Crab Cakes, as I say, if you're looking for a free square, that may be the one.
I don't know.
Okay.
I'm going to use My Magician. I really kind of like her today, Seth. I mean, I know she was beaten by Crab Cakes in the distaff there, but she was rolling late. In her last race, it was just a quagmire here November 24th, very, very dark. Rainy afternoon, the track pretty deep in that slop there. Victory Rally was impressive enough in winning, but My Magician made a nice little move, perhaps not on the best part of the track down inside that day, even though breaking from post 7 was maneuvered toward maybe the deeper part of the track down to the inside, going route to sprint, gets a little better track condition this afternoon, more suited to her running style here, especially going 6 furlongs. I think she'll be rocking late. My Magician to try to win the Politely for back-to-back years. She won the Politely last year in 2017.
Oh, I like that angle. All right.
Yeah, right.
Dave, appreciate the visit. As always, wish you and yours and everybody down there at Laurel a Happy New Year, and certainly we'll talk as the New Year proceeds.
Okay, Seth. Happy New Year to you and all your listeners.
Appreciate it. Dave Rodman from Laurel. Again, nice stakes card today. And as Dave said, they're going through the beginning of the week, the holiday period as well down there at Laurel. All right, we'll take a break. When we come back, John White from Santa Anita. They've kicked off their traditional wintertime meet. We'll talk a little bit about opening day and a couple of stakes for this afternoon. Stay tuned.
Another 50 yards, heavily priced. Here's the line. One Dreamer wins and scores a huge front-running upset under Gary Stevens. Heavily prized was second. You have just witnessed a felony.
Visit Rivers Casino and Resort, the Capital Region's only destination for live table game action and the hottest new slots paying out millions. And they're off. Horse betting is now at Rivers Casino and Resort with Capital off-track betting terminals and live tellers located just off the gaming floor at Van Slyck's. Get in on all the action at Rivers Casino and Resort.
Runs at him with 1 furlong to run. They've left flat out behind. Fort Larned digs in. Mucho Macho Man runs at him. Fort Larned, Mucho Macho Man. Fort Larned with the heart of a champion.
In a recent study of some of the top online wagering sites, Capital OTB won big in total player rewards, far surpassing some of the best-known wagering sites in America. While other rewards programs simply offer you points redeemable for gift cards, Capital OTB's rebates are paid to you in actual cash. Plus, Capital OTB gives you full and immediate access to your money. So if all you're getting now are points and gift cards, join Capital OTB Player Rewards today and get cash back. Visit CapitalOTBBet.com and sign up today.
Welcome back to Racing Across America on this Saturday morning. Looking forward to some nice stakes action on Saturday afternoon, including a couple of stakes out in Southern California as Santa Anita has kicked off their traditional wintertime meet. They did that the day after Christmas, of course, the traditional day, and I thought nobody better to reach out to than our friend John White. Good morning, John.
Good morning.
Happy to have you on board to talk a little Santa Anita. I thought we'd go through some of the opening day stakes and get a couple ideas maybe for stakes action today as well. First off, before we get to the stakes action, just give us an overview, because it's funny. We're right up here in the Saratoga area, and everybody looks forward to Saratoga, and opening day is kind of a big deal. But really, the big day of the meet is Travers Day, and opening day, as I say, is fun. But out there in Southern California, Del Mar and that day after Christmas at Santa Anita, those are a couple of dates clearly people mark on the calendar. And I pulled up some pictures from opening day. Good crowd, announced, I think, over 40,000. The handle went up, attendance went up. Give us a little overview of opening day on Wednesday.
Well, the weather was nice. The crowd was large, and everything seemed to go well. The racing was terrific, and so it was just all in all a wonderful day after Christmas present.
Yeah, it's, as I say, it's a tradition out there, and certainly people mark it on their calendar with some big numbers. And, of course, a couple of Grade 1 events. I said at the top of the show, I went through some of the Eclipse categories. I had my PPs sent to me a couple of weeks ago, and I said, I'm waiting. There's still some big races to be run, including the La Brea and the Malibu. I don't know whether they will necessarily play into Eclipse competition, but certainly they're a great way to kick off the meet. And let's take a look at some of that action and go back to the La Brea that kicked off the stakes action on Wednesday. We'll watch the stretch run here. It will be number 9, Spiced Perfection, winning at 5-1, and they've subsequently announced 2019. Maybe they'll aim for the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Sprint, given what they saw last Wednesday. The disappointment here, the number 5 horse, and you can see that chiclet way in the back of the pack, Bob Baffert's Dream Tree, 5 for 5 in the career, runs last at 3-5. So clearly that was the disappointment, but a nice run from the winner, Spiced Perfection for Brian Coroner.
Well, and this has been a wonderfully consistent filly, and she stepped up here to get the biggest win of her career so far. As you say, though, Dream Tree, it's one thing for her to not win at 3-5, but to get beat as far as she did and just throw in the towel like she did, and she'd never lost before. I mean, it was one thing, for her to, like I say, to get beat, but when you consider she was undefeated coming into the race and yet ran so poorly, it has to make you wonder, to me, considering she is a Grade 1 winner, whether she might go off to be a mommy now. She had a breathing problem that precluded her from running in the Breeders' Cup, and following this dismal performance, you'd have to think her future on the racetrack is in doubt. But Spice Perfection, as I say, she's been a wonderfully consistent filly. You know, she's been in the Exacta going into the La Brea 9 of 13 times. The vast majority of her races coming in California-bred restricted races. But she just goes out there and gives you an honest effort pretty much every time, and she did so again here. And now she enhanced her value significantly, this daughter of Smiling Tiger, to become a Grade 1 winner.
Yeah, it's a lot of the stakes action she's been in so far have been against Calbreds, but to step into open company, Grade 1 open company like that in the La Brea, and as they say, subsequently they said, maybe we'll aim for the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Sprint in 2019 as well. All right, the Mathis Brothers Mile, Grade 2 event on the card on Wednesday as well. Mile on the grass for 3-year-olds. And again, it winds up a season I like. The subdivision that I pay attention to every year, 3-year-olds on the turf. It's always fun. It's always competitive. Over here on the East Coast, we have a nice series of races, but certainly out there in Southern California as well. And last chance to kind of step in against your own age group before the calendar turns and go for some decent money. And it is number 5, River Boyne, getting it done here. Morning line favorite, and subsequently goes off at 2-5 and gets it done off a really nice season. Coming into the race, 5 wins and 8 starts, but maybe more importantly in the career, 5 for 5 over the Santa Anita turf. Combatant, a horse I chased all year until maybe the last couple of races. I was married for a while. I got divorced, though, towards the end of the year. But Combatant, the number 6, winds up a decent third in here. Desert Stone, the 7, second. But again, River Boyne off a very, very nice season for Jeff Mullins. Flavien Prat on board, gets it done in the Mathis brothers.
Well, I made him 8-5 on the morning line, and as you say, he got pounded down to 2-5. But I wouldn't exactly say he won like you'd want to see.
No,
I
think you were more onto it with the 8-5, and 8-5 seemed more justifiable to me going into the gate even. And as you say, he won more like closer to 8-5 than 2-5.
And I will say this, though, those that bet him at 2-5 say, well, you know what? We cashed our ticket, so that's very true, too. You know, he's got a perfect record on the grass at Santa Anita. He's now 6 for 6. So you talk about horses for courses. River Boyne's certainly a horse for the Santa Anita turf course. Jeff Mullins has done an absolutely superlative job with this colt. He's kept him in good form throughout racing in the United States since he came here from Europe. He had raced in Ireland and England, and he just fires pretty much every time. One thing to keep in mind for him, I don't think he likes it when he gets anything less than a pretty firm turf course. The worst race I think of his United States career so far came when he ran on a yielding turf course at Churchill Downs back in May. He finished 5th. And he was the favorite that day at 3-1 and lost by 3 lengths. But even there, it's not like he stunk up the place. He only got beat 3 lengths. So he's just an honest sort. You know, he ran such a huge race and defeat in the Hollywood Derby. Raging Bull came in from the east and won that race. And Raging Bull, to me, very impressive to win that Hollywood Derby at Del Mar. And River Boyne absolutely acquitted himself extremely well in defeat on that occasion. And he showed his guttiness to win this race, and he's never been one to win by a big margin anyway. You know, it was a close finish here, but other than when he won a maiden race by 5 lengths, it's never like he's winning by big margins really. So, especially in the graded stakes, it's always been pretty close in the graded stakes. So. He's a very, very nice horse and a good ride by someone who knows him very well. That's Flavien Prat, because Prat's been aboard him in all of his races in this country, with the exception of one, and that was when Joel Rosario rode River Boyne to victory in the Pasadena Stakes earlier this year.
Yeah, as I say, I love that 3-year-old turf division. He's been right at the top of the class out there in Southern California. San Antonio, another nice race on the card on Wednesday, and this one bodes well for 2019. Interesting, because those of us over here on the East Coast are certainly familiar with Gift Box. Was in the barn of Chad Brown. Hadn't been seen since March of this year. Private purchase, goes west, moves into the barn of John Sadler. We, of course, remember him from a couple of years ago, 4th in the Travers, but had won the Curlin earlier in the Saratoga meet. Again, that was in the barn of Chad Brown. Gift Box is going to win the San Antonio on Wednesday as the number 7 horse. The favorite at 3-2, number 2, Battle of Midway, runs second for Jerry Hollendorfer, coming out of a win in the Native Diver. But Gift Box now proven on the West Coast, and it looks like they're looking at the big cap a little bit later coming out of this victory, with subsequently a race in between obviously coming up. It'll be interesting to see what he does, because he's kind of announced himself as a potential player in the Sadler barn in the older division.
And an older player along with the Catalina Cruiser should come back later in 2019 for those connections. And, of course, they've got one of the strong Horse of the Year candidates in Accelerate, who won the Breeders' Cup Classic, although I think Justify should be the Horse of the Year as the Triple Crown winner and an undefeated Triple Crown winner. But, this was a fun race. it was just a fun race to really watch because Battle of Midway and Dabster put on quite a show at Del Mar in the Native Diver. It was only a 3-horse field, but they battled it out tooth and nail the whole way that day. And Battle of Midway and Dabster battled it out again this time, but they had somebody join the party in the stretch, and that was Gift Box, and all three of them, I thought, really ran well. And so congratulations to Gift Box and Joel Rosario and the connections there. But I also want to compliment our track announcer, and that's Frank Miramani, because I thought he rose to the occasion and called a really good race here. The San Antonio was an exciting race, and I thought Frank gave a very good call of the San Antonio.
Yeah, I love Frank. We've had him on the show many times and wish him well at the new gig out there. All right, let's go to the Malibu, which wrapped up the stakes action on Wednesday. Grade 1 event, $300,000, 7 furlongs. And again, traditionally winds up the 3-year-old stakes season, so horses getting to face their age group for the final time for a decent amount of money, that $300,000. And McKenzie went off as the 6-5 favorite. Number 13, McKenzie will win. But I'll tell you what, in career start number 5, Identity Politics, the number 5 horse, gutsy photo here for the second place finish. And again, only career start number 5 for Identity Politics, Chad Brown and Klarovich. So Identity Politics, interesting to watch as a 4-year-old. But again, with a chart margin just under 5 lengths here, as we can say, it's kind of a blanket behind. But McKenzie runs away. And if we're talking about the calendar changing and interesting horses going into the 4-year-old season, he's right at the top of the list.
Well, that was just a superlative performance here from McKenzie, Hall of Famer Mike Smith aboard, and McKenzie rebounding off the disappointing performance in the Breeders' Cup Classic. Baffert saying, probably it just was too much for McKenzie in terms of trying to come back from the injury, and he had to kind of push him to the Pennsylvania Derby, which McKenzie stepped up and won with a 107 buyer. But that all seemed to kind of take a toll as McKenzie unraveled in the last part of the Breeders' Cup Classic, which was unfortunate for me, because if McKenzie had won the Breeders' Cup Classic, I would have won $14,700 on him in the future book. But so to watch him crush this field, I'm thinking, gosh, I wish he would have run like that in the Breeders' Cup Classic. Now, whether he would have beat Accelerate or not, I don't know, but certainly he ran a lot better in the Malibu than getting beat 31 lengths in the Breeders' Cup, and he is obviously going to be one of the major players in terms of the older division going forward into 2019.
I feel for you. I used McKenzie on top in the Breeders' Cup Classic, but I did not have that much on the line. Those situations are always tough when you're on the horse for a big price and they run the dud and then they come back and win the next time. You're kind of scratching your head saying, why couldn't that? I've been there. Let's go and take a look at some of the action for this afternoon. A couple nice stakes as well. The Frankel Grade 3 event on the turf. I pulled up the replay from the Catherine Crosby out at Del Mar on November 9th. The first 3 finishers are going to come back. We're going to watch the stretch run, but there will be a DQ. Number 4, Excellent Sunset, wins. Number 9, Escape Clause, runs second. And number 10, Sweet Charity, third. The top 2, however, get flip-flopped, as they say, after the stewards took a look at this one. But these 3 are all back. Interesting in a field of 8 in here. What are your thoughts on the Frankel?
Well, one thing about that Escape Clause, she's quite a story. I mean, she came in after running up there in Canada and even in Minnesota at Canterbury, but at Assiniboia Downs and Northlands Park and Century Downs, she comes into Del Mar here and proved that she's a pretty darn nice filly, no question about it. She got the win via the DQ. It was a very, very tough loss in terms of being DQ'd for Excellent Sunset, who finished first and ran a good race, and then went up in class to compete in the Matriarch, but now will be coming back down in class today. So, and then even, Sweet Charity, that was a comeback race for her. So today she'll be making her second start off a layoff, and she certainly has the right to move forward off of that Catherine Crosby. So all 3 of them have a shot to win that Bobby Frankel today, and I'm so glad when we honor our top participants in this game, be it the jockeys or trainers or so forth, with a race named in their honor. I wish we did it more often when they were still alive than waiting for them to pass away before we honor them, but I wouldn't say I was good friends with Frankel, but I knew him extremely well. When I first started in Southern California in 1981, Frankel hung out in the press box at Hollywood Park quite a bit, and so I got to know him quite well.
Oh, that's interesting. And again, it's going to be a fun race in there, and I'm glad you told me Century Downs. As I was looking, I did not know what the CTD stood for, but she came in from Canada, and because of that Canadian form, came in, what was the win streak? It was like 8 or 9 race win streak, but they let her get away at 18-1 that day. Now, did win via the DQ, but still, folks who kind of believed in that form, including Century Downs, were rewarded with $38, so that's not bad.
Not bad at all, and I love those ones that come in from like a circuit like that. I guess that's because I did that myself coming in from the Pacific Northwest, growing up and going to tracks like Yakima Meadows and Playfair Racecourse in Spokane, Portland Meadows, and even a little track in Idaho that I had a lot of fun at called Coeur d'Alene. All those tracks except Portland have bitten the dust, and I had a great affection for Long Acres, and unfortunately Boeing bought it, but then Emerald Downs has taken the place of Long Acres, and so anytime I see someone from the Northwest come in, I'm always kind of rooting for them, and so I'm sure the Canadian racing fans were very pleased that Escape Clause won, and as you say, anyone who went up there and bet her to win, they were rewarded very handsomely.
Doesn't Emerald Downs still run the Long Acre Mile?
Yes.
Yeah,
in fact, Ron Crockett, I think, deserves tremendous credit for that, Seth, because of the fact that, so many people had such affection for Long Acres that it was tough for him to establish kind of his own identity. And even just recently, like John Sadler talked about sending a horse up to Long Acres for the Long Acres Mile. And look at how many years it's been since Long Acres closed, and yet here he is calling Emerald Downs Long Acres, and so I wouldn't have blamed Ron Crockett for making it the Emerald Downs Mile or, changing the name, but he stayed with the name, which kept the tradition, and it's my favorite race, Seth, because my first Long Acres Mile was in 1967. King Saver won that race, a son of Royal Orbit, and John Sellers came in to ride him, and it's one of my great memories of my youth. Was witnessing that for my first Long Acres Mile back in 1967.
I like that they honor Long Acres as well and kept the name. And you talk about honoring folks while they're still alive. I just read the other day that Laurel, we just had Dave Rodman on. I should have brought it up to him because I just read within the past 2 days or so, they're going to name a race in April after King Leatherberry.
Oh, that's great.
So,
well deserved.
Yeah, absolutely. Finally, Saturday afternoon out at Santa Anita, the American Oaks Grade 1 event for, as the name would hint, 3-year-old fillies on the grass at 1 1/4 miles. This is fun. New York fans out in our audience, competition of ideas comes in. Tossed in a little bit of a dud number-wise anyway last time, but that was an off-the-turf event. I think getting back to the turf, the Chad Brown-Klarovich runner competition of ideas is interesting. California Gold Rush won a stake at Belmont, shipping east from the West Coast for Neil Drysdale. Paved has some back numbers that are pretty good. Amandine, also 2 for 2 in the country, is a player in here. But I pulled up the Mrs. Revere from Churchill Downs, November 23rd. The Mrs. Revere won by number 6, Princess Warrior. And Ken McPeak opts to ship in from the East Coast to Santa Anita to take the challenge this afternoon. Princess Warrior at 6-1 is maybe a little bit interesting to me. What do you think in the Oaks?
Well, Princess Warrior was a tough one for me with the morning line because, I really would have liked to have made her about 4-1, but in order to balance the race, I had to kind of push her up to 6. We'll see if she gets some play. It wouldn't surprise me if she did. She was 4th in the QE2, the Queen Elizabeth II Challenge Cup, behind Rushing Fall, who is an absolute superstar. So, if she is any kind of price, she's certainly one to look at. But and you mentioned you always have to respect Chad Brown, no matter where what the race or what the situation is with that guy. But to me, I think there are a big 2 in here. And California Gold Rush, I mean, boy, she went back to win that Sands Point at Belmont, and that was pretty darn impressive. Yeah. And this is a filly that really impressed me When she won first time out, coming down the hill for Neil Drysdale, she was 27-1 that day with Castellano riding, and just absolutely flew home that day to win that race. And she's just an extremely talented filly, a daughter of the Eclipse Award-winning turf runner Cape Blanco. And then you've got Paved. Now, look, this Paved ran a very good race against Older in the Rodeo Drive against the Wind Machine Vasilika, and only got beat a half a length there. She bit off more than she could chew in the Breeders' Cup against Sister Charlie, the multiple Grade 1 winner. But Paved in this situation back against fillies of her own age, I think is certainly a strong contender in this race. And Amadine's the wild card here because I don't know, is she going to run or not? She just ran on Wednesday and was very impressive winning that race. Van Dyke has acted like he feels this is the best turf filly maybe he's ever been on, and she runs like that. So, I mean, she could be a budding superstar perhaps. And Jeff Mullins has acted like he wants to run her back from Wednesday to today, Saturday. And if he does, I wouldn't be surprised if she gives a very good account of herself. So all in all, it's an extremely interesting Grade 1 American Oaks, and it's the last Grade 1 race in America this year.
Yeah, I should have mentioned that because I have some check marks next to the date. That would be a quick turnaround. But if Connections opt to do that, I always think that's very intriguing. And again, going back to the Chad Brown Klarovich runner competition of ideas, Joel Rosario on board. He's out there for the winner, right, Rosario?
Yes, he is. And until Keeneland is the plan that his agent, Ron Anderson, has articulated. So, and competition of ideas, a very expensive auction purchase. And as you say, I mean, you know, I wouldn't hold her most recent race against her too much because it was on the dirt. So I would draw a line right through that. And that makes her form look pretty darn good coming into this race. But this, you got to keep in mind, too, this will be her first start, not only in a graded stakes race, but she's going clear to the Grade 1 level today. So she is facing much tougher competition than she's faced before. But, you know, and then there's the distance of this race that you have to take into account. A mile and a quarter, that's kind of a wrinkle for all of these in terms of going that far. So that makes it a little more tricky trying to isolate the winner of this grade 1 event.
Yeah, I think it's another fun stake on a week full of them here, the opening week out at Santa Anita. John, as always, we appreciate the visit. We wish you and everybody out at Santa Anita a happy new year, and certainly as the calendar page turns and the Santa Anita meet progresses, we'll check in again.
Very good. Always good to be with you.
John White, Morning Line odds maker, and more out there at Santa Anita on a really nice opening weekend that kicked off again Wednesday, the day after Christmas, opening day out at Santa Anita with some great stakes action. That continues this afternoon as well. All right, want to also thank our friend Dave Rodman for giving us some thoughts on the Laurel Stakes for this afternoon, but there's plenty of stakes action all over the place. A couple of stakes down at Aqueduct, some nice stakes action down at Gulfstream this afternoon as well. We'll delve into much of that as I come back in about an hour or so for OTB Live. Want to remind you, holiday grab bag promotion here at the Clubhouse Racebook this afternoon. Come on down, see if you get your chance to reach in and pull out a grab bag item and join the fun, as the graphic says. Come on down here to the Clubhouse Racebook this afternoon. 711 at Central Avenue in Albany. Sundays are always NFL Sundays, as the season is just about wrapping up. But again, wear your jersey, you get in for free, put your name on a square, maybe you can win a prize. But you can certainly watch all of the football action and all of the racing action at the Clubhouse Racebook, 711 Central Avenue in Albany. I'm just reaching over for my sheet because we do have branch information Monday and Tuesday that I want you to know about. New Year's Eve, Monday the 31st, branches are open normal hours, but Clubhouse and Cleats will close at 7:30. That's Monday. Clubhouse and Cleats close at 7:30, otherwise normal on Monday, New Year's Eve. New Year's Day, January 1st, branches open normal hours, but the branches that are normally closed on Tuesday will be open because there's some nice stakes action, at venues around the country that normally might not be open, but they'll be open Tuesday, New Year's Day for the holiday. Clubhouse on New Year's Day closes at 9. Cleats closes at 7:30. Again, that's New Year's Day. All right, I'm going to wrap things up. Want to thank our friends at Gulfstream for their sponsorship. Gulfstream Park. Champions start here. Again, once more, a reminder, Charlestown today. Excuse me, it's closing day of the 2018 season, so it's a mandatory pay at Charlestown today with a $252,000 carryover in their pick six. So again, $250,000 in the pool at Charlestown today for a mandatory pick six payout. I'm going to wrap things up for this edition of Racing Across America. I'm Seth Merrill. Happy to have you join us. We'll be back in tomorrow morning for more Racing Across America, Sunday at 10 a.m. But again, be back in about an hour or so for Saturday afternoon OTB Live. See you then.
You're watching OTB TV, a service of Capital Off Track Betting.